Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Dana and today I have for you the famous Sacher cake with chocolate and apricot jam. Delicious and really simple to make. So I will start with a sponge cake, for which I will need the following ingredients: 30 grams of dark chocolate. I will let you the ingredients in grams and cups as well. 60 grams of flour, 50 grams of almonds, and as you can see I have two types here, but I'm gonna grind them all and make them flour. If you can find flour, it's even better than that. 30 grams of cocoa powder, a pinch of salt to bring out the sweetness of the cake, 200 grams of sugar, 115 grams of soft butter, 5 eggs and 4 grams of cream of tartar. I will start with almonds, grind them up with the food processor to make them fine as I can, like a flour. I will separate the eggs, keeping the yolks in a big enough bowl and the whites in a mixer bowl, and I will mix egg yolks with a pinch of salt and half of the sugar until the sugar is almost dissolving and the yolks are changing the color to a creamy pale yellow. And now add butter and mix it in our batter. You can do this step with a mixer, but I did it with a whisk, and as you can see it didn't took me too much time. Just make sure that the butter is really well creamed out with the rest of the ingredients. For the dry ingredients, I'm gonna mix here almond flour with flour and cocoa powder. As you can see, our cake doesn't have any baking powder, so in order for the sponge to be nice and fluffy and to rise as well as to be well baked, we're gonna need to whisk up really well the egg whites. We're gonna need to transform them in a meringue, but first I mix the dry ingredients. The chocolate, I'm gonna melt it on water bath and let it to cool down just a tiny bit. Okay, let's whisk the eggs. We start on a lower speed in the beginning and increase, and I will use the rest of the sugar to make that meringue that I was talking about. Add now some cream of tartar to stabilize the whites. If you don't have cream of tartar, you can use lemon juice. 1 tablespoon is more than enough, and it's gonna do the same thing. It's gonna stabilize the whites. Add the rest of the sugar and whisk until you have stiff peaks in your meringue. And this way we're gonna have a nice fluffy sponge cake. Over the yolks, add that melted chocolate that we let to cool down a bit, and incorporate it well in your mixture. And it's gonna be so much flavor in this cake. And to increase the chocolate flavor, we're gonna add now dry ingredients, and in the dry ingredients we have cocoa powder as well. Make sure to preheat the oven at 180 Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit. So I mixed all dry ingredients. Now it's time to add egg whites, and I do it gradually and incorporate it well. Mix them well until we have a nice homogenized mixture. fold in the whites really well. Take your time, you're not in a rush. Just make sure that all this mixture is really well combined. Pour the mixture in the cake form. I have baking paper at the base and on the sides of the tin as well. Lever it with a spatula and bake the sponge in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. The best will be to do the toothpick test to make sure that your sponge is really well baked. Take it out from the oven and try to remove the ring. Careful, it's really hot. And let the cake to cool down completely before you slice it down. So I'm trying to take the cake form out without breaking the cake. So run a knife on the edge of these and remove the baking paper, and it's really nice and soft, so let it cool down now. In the meantime, I'm gonna make a syrup, and for this syrup I'm gonna use 60 grams of sugar, 60 grams of water, and 1 tablespoon of apricot jam. And I will put in a pot the sugar with the water and also apricot jam. Bring this to a boil and let it cool down. We're gonna use this on the sponge cake to make it nice and moist and full of apricot flavor. When the cake cools down, slice it down in the middle, and let's make the glaze now. For the glaze we need chocolate, and I already melted it. 160 grams of chocolate, 180 grams of cream that I heated up on the stove, and 50 grams of butter. When you heat up the cream, make sure not to boil it, just bring it to the boiling point and add it over the chocolate. Add butter as well to have a nice shine, and let this mixture cool down a bit so it can thicken up, and you will be able to pour it over your cake in a better manner. Now I slice the cake in the middle, and I am splitting up that syrup in between the two slices, and I let this syrup to be absorbed in the sponge cake. Make sure that your syrup is nice and chill, and it's gonna be absorbed easily in the sponge cake. And I will use 3 tablespoons of apricot jam that I heated up on the stove to put in the middle of the slices as well, because this is the filling of this cake, that syrup that we pour on the slices, and the apricot jam that we level it nicely. And now I'm gonna glue together the 2 slices of cake, and we have to glaze the cake, and you're gonna see how nice and thick the glaze is now. As you can see, it's really shiny. I saved a tablespoon of glaze. Spread nicely the glaze on top of the cake and on the sides, and put the cake for a few minutes in the fridge so the glaze can set. And with the rest of the chocolate that we saved up, rest of the glaze that we saved up, put it in a piping bag and write on your cake Sacher, as you can see me doing here, and have this again in the fridge. and you definitely need to save these for your family and friends and serve them because they will love it. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'm gonna see you here next time with another recipe. Until then, find reasons to smile. Bye bye.